No, he sets to wandering the streets at night, just hunting down people without a mask. Again, dozens of bad guys and small-time crooks see his face, which you would think would be a problem. I mean, all anyone would have to do would be to make up a wanted poster, post it around saying this guy has superpowers, and that's it. But he gets into a scuffle with a whole gang of roughnecks, and it's fun. And again, Andrew Garfield might just be a better Spider-Man than Tobey Maguire. He has the physicality for it. Seeing him, move around everywhere, hop from building to building, it's really Spider-like, I guess. And he's running across rooftops, and I love this. This is a great part. At one point, he's running across the rooftops. He still hasn't found the guy who killed his Uncle Ben, and I'm not sure he ever does. That's sort of unresolved. Lots of things unresolved in this movie, but he's running. He's just casually walking across the rooftop, away from these screaming thugs. We've seen your face. We'll find you, and there's no way that you can ever hide your face. And he's like, oh well, I guess they got a point, but screw it. And he takes a few steps, and he falls through a hole in a roof. Yeah, this one section of roof just collapses beneath him. And it's got to weigh like, what, 120? But no, concrete flooring of roof, this one hole, this one spot that he walks on just collapses right beneath him. I mean, that whole roof must be on the verge of collapsing. He falls right into this tiny little wrestling ring. A tiny little wrestling ring. I mean, I assume it's a wrestling ring and not a boxing ring because there's luchador posters all over the place, and he steps up and he's still hearing the bad guys somehow from where he is. Like, we'll find you because there's no way that you can hide your face. And gets up. It's like, mask. And there's this big giant poster of a mask, advertising luchador fights. And it's like, whoa! It's like this great revelation. So, and we actually see him putting together this mask. And since he's a genius, he can make just about anything. So he makes these eyepieces, and he starts hunting around at night. And that's another thing. This Spider-Man does everything at night. In Sam Raimi's films, and I keep bringing this back to how much better Sam Raimi was, but you gotta admit, it was fun seeing Spider-Man fly around during the day. New York City seems larger in the daytime, I think. And to see Spider-Man flying between buildings, rappelling from rooftop to rooftop and everything, it made everything seem a bit larger. But this Spider-Man, no, you only ever see him operating at night. Maybe once or twice, maybe 3 times, and during a later fight scene, he'll operate during the day. But for the most part, he's a nighttime vigilante, which can't be helped, of course, because he's still going to high school. Yeah, there's a reason why in the original movie, Peter graduated almost immediately before becoming Spider-Man. Because it's hard to be a full-time superhero and be a high school student. I mean, he's got homework, he's got to get up early. But no, I guess he takes a few hours out of every night to go out and patrol. And Aunt May starts noticing him coming home with these awful bruises. And she's like, oh, Peter, where are you getting these awful bruises from? And he's like, I can't, no. And he just goes up to his room. Again, I'm mocking Andrew Garfield, but he's a really good actor. He is. He does it really well. I think he's the bright center of this movie. And he never really does offer Aunt May an explanation. That's another thing that's unresolved. It's going to be something that's goes on with this movie. Maybe they're saving all the resolvedness up for the sequel. And Aunt May... Yeah, did you get the eggs? No, I forgot the eggs, but I don't know if he's flying around everywhere, he's going to be crushed. And all during this, the police are starting to get a little bit fed up with this vigilante business, and you can't blame them, because at this point, all he's doing is hunting around for this one guy who killed his Uncle Ben. I keep wanting to say Aunt Ben. But he can't find him, so he keeps doing it, and gradually he starts becoming a superhero, and... Meanwhile, Rice Ifans? How do you pronounce it? I don't know how you pronounce the name. Rice Ifans? Rice? I'm pretty sure it's Riss. Is it Riss? I'm pretty sure it's Riss Ifans. Well, anyway. Meanwhile, the police, primarily represented by Dennis Leary as the typical angry but principled police chief, sets out to find Spider-Man because he's kind of screwing up their business, interrupting stings and what have you. So the police are out in force, hunting out for Spider-Man, and of course it's irony because he happens to be Gwen Stacy's father. All these coincidences, segging together in a web-like pattern around Peter Parker's life, like you do. And and Gwen Stacy is cautiously optimistic about Spider-Man, and she shows Peter Parker, and Peter's like, well, maybe being a superhero isn't such a bad thing. Didn't Hitler's like, get the hell out of my kitchen, you asshat. And he's like, well, I'm just saying that, out, or I will kill you. Dennis Leary, no one does anger like Dennis Leary does it better. And meanwhile, Peter's connecting with Kurt Connors, just sort of giving his father's notes out there, saying, well, maybe if you tried solving the equation this way, you actually could grow back your arms. And of course, in movies nowadays, they've got all these hyper-advanced holographic simulations where they can, they have these holographic mice where they can experiment and create models of what's going to happen if you mutate the mice this way or that way, and the computer's like, oh no, the mouse dies, and the holographic mouse is like, simulation 2, oh no, the mouse dies, and the mouse's arm goes like, because they're trying to regrow the mouse's arm, as a template for regrowing Kurt Connors' arm. And hold on. And of course, Kurt Connors bonds with Peter. Your father was a great man. Oh, by the way, we have this bomb over here, which could, theoretically, of course, disperse a biogenetic compound over a huge area, but no one's ever going to use it, of course. Foreshadowing. That's pretty blatant right there. They just have it sitting in the building. Anyway, all during this, Kurt Connors is being pressured by the mysterious head of Oscorp. I wonder who it could be. Green Goblin. Oh, who could it be? To develop this miracle cure for everything. And there's this toady, who comes to his offices and says, "No, we want progress, Mr. Connors, and we have only a few hours. Yes, so you have to have human trials now." Oh my God, we've seen this freaking mad scientist plot unfold 1,000,001 times. That's one thing about this movie. It's generic, okay? Like I said, it's not a bad movie. It's a good movie. It's a fine movie. It really is. It's okay, but it's generic up the wazoo. There is nothing, except for maybe Andrew Garfield's performance. There's nothing in this movie that you haven't seen 1,000 times before. In some other movie or TV show or comic book. There's just nothing really pointedly original about it. I'm sure somebody in the comments are going to say, oh, no, there's this, there's that, and I'm sure I might be wrong, but as I see it, what we've got here is an extremely prototypical superhero movie. From then on, things unfold exactly like you'd expect. Kurt Connors, he's pressured, so he says, well, I guess I could inject myself with the lizard DNA. And he says, what's the worst that could happen? Boom. Lizard monster. And the lizard, I have to say, it's the most forgettable villain ever. He's just... I would have expected a more realistic CGI monster at this point. Really, the lizard always was, even in the comics. There's just nothing visually all that distinctive about him. I thought that in the movie that they would have done something to make him stand out, maybe given him some raptor frills or something, like the thing in Jurassic Park, or just something to make him stand out, be a little colorful. Nope, he's just a big lizard guy. That's it. I mean, the most descriptive, he's got this British accent. He's Voldemort, if Voldemort was Godzilla, and you can't describe him beyond that. He's a lizard man. That's it. He's absolutely vanilla monster villain from an absolutely vanilla mad scientist. That's what really gets to me about this movie. There's nothing new. As Spoonie might say, it's not new. It's done well, it's done adequately, but you can see almost every plot point coming from a mile away. So anyway, the lizard shows up, starts wrecking stuff, and Spider-Man, who by this point he's made himself a really neat costume. He's used silk screen techniques to make the emblems. He's ordered. I don't know where he's getting the money for all this stuff. He doesn't seem to have a job. Does Aunt May give him a very generous allowance or something? I don't know. And he makes himself a professional grade costume. Somehow, apparently, lets his feet still stick to things, even though he's clearly wearing sneakers. He looks like a sports mascot. He really does. That's another thing I loved about the Sam Raimi movies. You look at Spider-Man, those movies, the dude looked like Spider-Man. It was exactly the costume from the comics, more or less. And it was fun seeing that on the big screen in real life. This time, you're always just looking at a special effect. Though, like I said, Andrew Garfield has got a great physicality for it. You know, he's limber and lean, more so than Tobey Maguire ever was, and he makes a good Spider-Man in his movements and in his presence. So good on you there. And there's this scene where the lizard's throwing cars off the bridge. And this guy's like, oh, my son's in that one car. I guess everyone else managed to get out of their cars, but my son's in that one car. And, Spider-Man rushes down, he crawls down, and the poor little kid's scared, and again he takes off his mask. he just flips it off again. And he's like, it's okay, kid. No, it's okay. He's dealing with a panicked child. He says, it's okay. See, I'm just a regular guy. I'm climbing all over the place, but I'm a regular guy. See, so why don't you just come up, see, so that you don't die? And the kid's like, well, okay. And the kid gets out, and then, of course, oil and gasoline starts leaking out of the car, and it catches fire. It's the one car that does this out of all the cars that are hanging from the bridge. And there's a lot of them because he's been catching cars with his web shooters while the lizard's throwing them off all over the place. And so now the car's on fire. And Peter's like, okay, could you maybe kind of hurry up? And the kid's like, I'm scared. Okay, put on the mask. And this scene is equal parts cheesy and great. I loved it. And he's like, put on the mask. It'll make you strong. That's the secret of my powers. Just put on your mask. And the kid's like, oh, okay. And he puts on the mask. And there's this little kid with the spider mask on. He starts climbing up the car, and it's cute. It really is cute. And of course, it's the last minute thing. Split second timing. The car falls. He catches the kid with his web shooters. Pulls him up. And the guy's like, thank you, Spider-Man, saving my son's life. Who are you? I'm Spider-Man. Flies off into further adventures. His heroic persona now fully established. And like I said, he's a pretty altruistic guy, all things considered. It seems like the one time that he wasn't selfless and standing up for what was right was the one time that with the guy in the convenience store came back to bite him in the ass. So poor guy. He does everything right, except when he does one or two things wrong, things go screw wire for him. But hold on.